Welcome to the Rubio Method. Venture into the unfiltered world of Chris Rubio. The Rubio Method delivers an unapologetically edgy take on the often overlooked world of men's mental health. Rubio, a master communicator, wields a potent knack for no BS enlightenment. Step into this no-nonsense arena, where men are challenged to evolve and confront the man staring back at them from the mirror.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, Heidi Ho and Boss Hog. It was great spending some time with you guys this weekend. You were two very, very funny individuals, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Welcome to episode 91 of the Rubio Method. My name is Chris Rubio. Hopefully you figured that out. We are live right now. Jenna tells me we're on Rumble, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think that's all of them. Anyone that would like to comment, more than welcome to. We're going to be jumping all over the place. We've got two fantastic guests, one from Long Beach, California, one from Miami, Florida. What are we going to talk about today? Let me run it down with you. Everything happens for a reason. We're going to talk about tariffs. That's the big word going around. Tariffs, and are they good? They bad? What's going on with Canada and Mexico? That's what Bergeron's going to jump in on. Then we're going to go to the winners and losers in life. Okay, this is another hot topic that everyone seems to want to have an opinion on. Elon Musk and Doge. Doge is the Department of Government Efficiency. And is this good or bad for America? We're also going to talk to Bergeron about that. Then we're going to talk about accepting and embracing. And we're going to talk about the USAID or USAID and how basically it's gone. And what is it and what's going on with it? And why are some people so happy that it's gone? And then there's a lot of people that are just very upset. And it's kind of weird when you think about it. It's one of those, and if I had hair, I'd kind of pull it out because I don't understand how this is a bad thing. Maybe some people can comment in on if you're on one side or the other and say, Rubio, this is why it's bad. Okay, I'm more than happy to listen. Then we're going to go get rid of Bergeron. He's going to be the first three segments. Then we're going to bring an AC of AC Sports Live. Don't forget, he's 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those good things. Working hard is not enough. We're going to talk about one of the biggest trades in NBA history with Luka and the Brow. We'll just call him that. And in the NBA, and can it be fixed? Because I'm an old man at this one, and it's one of those that I don't like, and I don't understand what's happening here. And then confidence is the key. We're going to talk about 70s and 80s TV shows. You're wondering if I'm still watching Little House on the Prairie? Yeah, 100%. And I'm talking to other people about it, and I find out that other people are very intrigued by it as well. Like I said, if you have not watched Little House on the Prairie, wake up from your coma and start watching it. It's very wholesome. It's fantastic. It's just downright good-hearted, good show. You can't leave unhappy about it. It's just a good show. All right, let's start. Everything happens for a reason. Jenna, can you bring on John Bergeron?
Hey, Rubio.
Bergeron, what's going on, my man?
How you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, you're one of those people that knows a lot about a lot, and it's one of those things. You are the anti-Cliff Clavin. You don't know a little about a lot. You know a lot about a lot. And this whole thing, I wanted to talk about Trump and the tariffs, because all of a sudden this has become a four-letter word where everyone's kind of discussing it. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand it. And a lot of people act like they do, but they're not really sure. So number one, how do you know about this? Like why someone watches right now and say, why am I going to listen to this guy? What the hell does he know about tariffs?
Yeah, sure. So I have a degree in finance, and I have been in this world, I guess, for the last 20 or 30 years, following all this and understanding trade agreements and things like that. So these are very complex, very powerful tools that can be used by countries to basically get what they want from the other side.
And the thing with Trump, what he's doing, he's been in office, I think it's 16 days at this point, and he's moving so quick that people can't keep up with what he's doing. And for instance, we're going to play a video from Chuck Schumer in about a minute here, where by the time this video is made and produced and put out, it's passé. It's done. It's over. So Jenna, here's the video from Chuck Schumer. I'm sure you've seen it, Bergeron. Go ahead, Jenna.
Let's take Super Bowl Sunday, okay? It's going to affect beer, okay? Most of it, Corona here, comes from Mexico. It's going to affect your guac. Because what is guacamole made of? Avocados, both from Mexico.
Okay, so he puts out this video, and it's number one, it's very tone deaf the way he's doing it. It's almost like he's talking to third graders of, okay, this is beer. Beer is made in Mexico. This one particular beer. Side note, there's tons of beer that are made in America. And this is guacamole. You know where you get your guacamole from? Avocados. Okay. Side note, you can get avocados in Florida and California, and they're fantastic. So there's a whole side issue. But by the time this video came out, Mexico had already backed down. And it's weird because Trump comes out and says, hey, all I'm asking for is some help with the border. That's all I need, some help with the border. If not, I'm going to put a 25% tariff on items coming in. So what does that mean? Explain it to me like I'm a third grader, Bergeron.
Yeah. So what Trump did was issue a 25% tariff on all import goods from Mexico and from Canada. And what a lot of people don't understand is that this is only used as a negotiation tool. It's not as if Trump is trying to be mean or malicious. He's trying to get something else done besides it, because Mexico and Canada are very good trade partners with us, even though we have a major imbalance between the two. I believe Canada is around 50 billion a year, and Mexico is even greater than that. So these are used again to get what he wants. In this case, I believe it's a multi-prong approach where he is trying to A, stop fentanyl traffic, B, secure the border, and then C, to renegotiate bad trade deals that we have entered into in the past.
Okay. So when you go back to what you said Canada's at like 50 billion and Mexico's lower or higher. What do you mean? We're giving them money? They're getting money? What?
No. So what we're doing is we are buying more goods from Mexico than we are sending them, than they are buying from us. And that becomes a trade imbalance. So if you own a business in Mexico that sells hats, and you are importing them into the United States, and that hat company now makes millions of dollars, it's enriching the Mexican community, right? So that trade imbalance is at the tune of, I want to say Mexico is 152 billion and Canada is at 51 billion.
Okay, Jenna, can you put up that picture of the Canadian tariff rates? We'll just go through these pictures one by one here, because I want you to explain it to me, Bergeron.
Sure.
Jenna,
so if we're talking about the reciprocal trade rate. So, okay, so here's my last point about renegotiating bad trade deals. So Canada is come out now with retaliatory, this is all past now. We put on the 25, they put on the 25, and they back down with the border security with the 10,000 and the fentanyl czar and things like that. Now, why did Trump do this? Well, for a handful of reasons. First, currently, there are plenty of tariffs that are charged. This is the EU, but there are plenty of tariffs that are charged by these countries that are not free, that are not zero. So, in other words, automobiles in Europe. So, to import automobiles, it's a 10% tariff. Right now, we have a 2% tariff on imports. That's any sort of German car, any sort of foreign car that comes into the United States. It's only set at 2.5%, where in Europe, it's set at 10%. So we're already at a 7.5% disadvantage. And on top of that, specifically in Europe, the EU Union, and specifically with automobiles, they put a lot of regulations to increase the cost of the American-made product to where you don't even see any Fords or any GMs that are out on the roads in Germany or in France and things like that. So, and we do know that they like more economical cars, but that doesn't mean that GM and Ford can make economical cars that can compete with what they have going on over there already. They have an imbalance of trade. So in my opinion, EU is next. It's going to come out where he's going to say, fine, we'll do 20% tariffs or whatever on the EU just to get back to a balanced trade. So for instance, going back to automobiles, reduce that 10% down to 2.5%, make it reciprocal like we do to your cars, so we can sell within the EU Union, right? And so more trade between the countries when these things are settled. But this is specifically used to address a trade imbalance that the United States is well deficient of other countries. Look, the EU Union by itself, I believe, is 82 or 100 billion dollars. India is 70 billion dollars. Taiwan is 50 billion dollars. So we are taking in a lot more products, and the United States consumer is buying these products versus those foreign consumers buying American products. And so what does Trump ultimately want, I think, in these tariffs? He wants factories to move back to the United States and be American-made, American-built. Go back to the U.S., the NAFTA agreement that Bill Clinton did in the 90s. It leveled everything out at zero. Well, what did that do? That automatically made the American worker the most expensive worker in the world because of unions, because of healthcare, and all the factories over a period of 25 years went to China, Mexico, and Canada. So again, this is a big U-turn in the world, if you will, to say we want our American factories back. We want the Americans to be working in these factories, and American-made, American-built.
Okay, so now, Bergeron, this is where I get confused because everyone's saying that Trump right now is acting like a big bad bully dictator. Okay, is he being a big bad bully dictator? Because immediately Trudeau said, "Well, this is stupid. We're not doing it." Same with the Mexican president. She said, "No, we're not doing it." And then both of them caved within 12 hours, which literally everyone knew they were going to cave because essentially Trump is, quote unquote, a bigger, badder human being because of his country. It's not that he's going to beat him in a fist fight, which he probably could, obviously, but it's one of those that, is he just doing what is better for America and he's not really a dictator? Like this is where I get confused because they're saying that and I'm like, what are you talking about? He just literally, I mean, I know it's a cliche, he wants to make America great again. He just wants fair across the board.
He wants fair across the board, but he also wants to promote American businesses, right? So there are no tariffs for American companies. There's no exports that occur. If you make it in Ohio and you build it in Ohio, then there's zero tariffs that you have to be faced with. Now, let me give you an example of why, again, Trump is the best person in the world that I've ever seen at identifying weakness. So why is he picking on Canada? Well, we import 60% of our petroleum today is imported from Canada. Okay. Canada, through their politicians, has limited the building of refineries, the building of pipelines, the building of tanker transport systems, anything basically to do with oil and gas. Canada has put a moratorium on for the past, I'd say, 8 or 10 years due to environmental issues. And so a lot of this crude is being piped into the United States and into refineries like Ohio and in Michigan and Indiana. Well, what Trump recognizes is that Canada produces a heavy crude. The only refineries in the world that can refine heavy crude are in the United States. Canada would be drilling a bunch of oil and holding the bag with millions and millions of heavy crude barrels of oil sitting in their lots with no one to refine it and nowhere to go. And it would absolutely crash the Canadian economy because, let's face it, they produce a lot of oil. They're one of the biggest producers in the world. And this is one of the backbones of their economy.
And so he's basically noticed, hey, you've got this nice, thick, rich oil, but we're the only ones that can, basically pasteurize it. And so if you don't work with us, you're screwed.
You're screwed.
Wow. So
you're absolutely screwed.
We really have him over the barrel on this one. No pun intended. Well, actually,
no pun intended. Yeah, I mean, he's a master at using leverage. And so he recognizes this. So what is if you've ever read The Art of the Deal, he always says, look at multiple options. So what he's currently doing, he's trying to replace Canadian oil with Argentinian oil, Colombian oil, maybe Venezuelan oil. I don't know, but anything to reduce the dependency on Canada, to cripple them even further. But that is in the meantime to get the United States back to energy independence.
So bottom line, if Canadians are upset with El Trumpo right now, they need to look at their own government because screw the spotted owl at this point and just say, hey, let's clean just refine our own oil, make it a little bit better. Don't worry about the smelt or whatever they're worried about. And so we can ship it to other places.
That's right. And Canada is in a very tough position when it comes to the heavy crude. And again, that's about 80 or 90% of what they produce. They would have to ship it to China, and to put it on tankers to ship it to China increases the cost.
Yeah.
Really, the only trade partner is the direct pipelines into the United States that refine this stuff. They only have 3 refineries in the entire country of Canada, where the United States, 3 refineries that can do heavy crude oil. They have about 15 or 16 refineries. United States has about 150. Every one of them can do heavy crude.
Okay, so Jenna, I think you need to talk to your government a little bit on that one. Jenna's from Canada. She's the producer in the back, the one that yells at me all the time. Bergeron, we're going to move on here to there are winners and losers in life. All right, so the next big buzzword that's going around is Doge, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. You've got half the country, let's say, well, I would say less than half, losing their mind over this, okay? Doge, for those that don't know, it's the Department of Government Efficiency. Basically, Elon Musk is running it for free, and he's come in and just said, hey, there is a lot of excess fat. We need to trim the fat because we're trillions in dollars in debt. Let's figure out where we're spending money and what we can kind of clean up. So he's come up with Doge, and it turns out there's like 5 or 6 I want to say super nerds running this thing. The youngest is 19. One of them, I mean, when I'm talking nerds, I'm talking like, oh my God, nerds. Like, Jenna, can you pull up this scroll, this picture? I think it was a 19-year-old. So that, for those that are looking or listening on iTunes and Spotify, there's a picture of, they say this is a scroll. It's thousands of years old. Some nerd, super nerd in a good way, figured out AI to decipher what this scroll says. And if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, it literally looks like a decaying piece of dog crap from, BC and Mesopotamia or something like that. And this guy figured this out. And so Elon has got these guys working in the White House now. I guess they got their own office, and they are just creating algorithms and formulas and all this crap and just saying, okay, let's start going after the fat. And my question is this, before we get into it, is this too much power for Elon Musk? Because that's the argument that the left is going to have, is that he has too much power due to the fact that he has contracts with the government as well.
Yes and no, in my opinion, but this is not for my opinion, honestly. Mm-hmm. This is a directive of the American people. This is a mandate from the American people to go in and audit the United States government and reduce where the fat is. This has been going on for years. If you follow the Festivus report that Rand Paul puts together, some of these programs are absolutely ridiculous. I know I've sent you a clip of the White House press secretary going through some of these programs that they found that are just absolutely ridiculous, like transgender operas. We're
going to talk about them.
Yeah, it's some of these things that you couldn't even put 100 words in a bag and pull them out and say, okay, this is we're going to go with transgender with an opera and in the country of Colombia like it's some sort of game, right? This is all too ridiculous, and we're talking at the tune of billions and billions of dollars here.
Well, and that's the thing is, to me, and we're going to get to it in the Accept and Embrace when we talk about the USAID and how much money they've been wasting, is that this would be very similar to you get divorced and your ex-wife still has cameras in your house, and she contacts you and says, hey, I know you're on vacation, but I'm just letting you know someone's in your house breaking in. And people are, right now, you have people that are saying, why would you tell me that? Why would you tell me someone broke in? When you should just say, okay, I know we hate each other because we just got divorced, but thanks for letting me know there's a gang robbing my house. I don't understand this one. This is where I'm very confused.
We are supposed to have full audit powers of the entire United States government. And for some reason, these people are acting like we're not $36 trillion in debt.
100%.
The future is in stake here. Our children are going to be, economic slaves to whoever holds this debt over them if we don't get it out from underneath us right now. Our only hope, I think, is to cut the government as fast as possible to save as much money, because we don't need to be in aid of other countries if we are $36 trillion in debt. Our cities are crumbling. The infrastructure looks terrible.
Jenna, can you put that picture up of the Doge clock? Now, we can't have it running because it's a whole separate issue, but just can you explain this Doge clock? And I think it's like dogeclock.org or .web or .com. Jenna, do you have that picture? It just looks like
it's the debt clock. And what they've recently done here in the debt clock, you can see up in the top left, $36 trillion in debt, right? And that, if you watch it, it'll blow your mind how much that is increasing every day. Look, we've started out 2025, $2 trillion in debt already. That's ridiculous. What are we doing spending all this money? The Doge clock has been added to show that Elon has already been effective in saving over $55 billion.
Jesus. And it's been 14 days.
It's been 14 weeks. So what I think these guys are doing is let's cut and see what is going to be missed. Bill Gates came out today and said, I give billions of dollars to charity, and it's not taxpayer funded dollars. We can do the same thing through private organizations. If all these people want to do the same thing, we can create another organization that is not taxpayer funded.
Yeah, it seems like, I'm losing my mind because they seem like no-brainers to me. And this is going to lead me to my next point in our next segment, where if it doesn't seem like a no-brainer to you, you're dumb or you're looking at it through evil eyes, because that's what I don't understand. And so anyone that's worried about Trump and Elon becoming dictators, as they're saying, because they're both Hitler at this point for a lot of people. Jenna, do you have that El Trumpo video talking about Elon and his role?
President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do if there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way,
Okay, so he's just confirming that, so everyone can calm down, that Elon just doesn't have full reign. He's got to get everything approved. And those that don't know, I think it's Elon almost using his superpower. And I think out of those Doge, those five, I want to say kids, because I think they're like 19 to 26, I believe it is. I think most of them have like a splash of autism or something like that, where they can get just like focused on certain things. And I know about this because I used to have a cousin. I still do. I don't think he's dead. But he was autistic, not as bad as like Rain Man. But this dude, my aunt and uncle had a 20,000 page Time Life collector's book. And the dude could read it like this, like Rain Man. If you haven't seen that movie, read it or watch it. And I would say, Joel, tell me what the fifth word on page 697 was. And he'd say, it's Frankfurter. And I'd be like, Jesus, okay, that's amazing. But then 2 seconds later, Joel would be talking to the baked beans and having a conversation. So he was highly focused on one thing. And I think that's what these kids are doing right now. And I think that's what Elon, who's obviously at this point a superhuman, where he's just so focused, and then they're just driving everything out.
So these kids are actually writing script inside of the U.S. Treasury right now, looking for money laundering schemes and fraud. Period. End of story. Okay. They are going to find a lot of money laundering schemes and fraud. Look, I'm not a programmer. I have no idea how they find these things, but this is exactly what these guys are up to. They are going to expose anything and everything. There's more to come out on USAID, I promise you.
Okay, so let's move on to accept and embrace. Peace out to USAID and tons of wasted money. So United States, it's not United States aid. It's not United States aid. Okay, it's meant to look like that, but it's basically aid from our country to other countries to help them out. But along the way, all hell is broken loose, and now these 5 super dorks have figured out, oh my God, this is what we're wasting money on. All right, so 97% of donations to USAID are from Dems. That's the number one thing. So this is a red flag right there. It is established in 1961 by JFK on executive order, so El Trump can repeal it, and it's just gone. Okay, shout out to Nick Umble for letting me know about that. Let's go to the Marco Rubio video. Let's go to the Marco Rubio video just to start us off, and then I'm going to start hitting on what they're finding. So Marco Rubio video, Jenna.
Back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that there's somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded. And that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct the sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have.
Okay, so he's basically saying the exact same thing that we've been saying. This is our tax money. Like, we pay a lot of taxes, not as much as Jenna. I apologize, Jenna, but we pay a lot of taxes. And all we're saying is, where's it going? What are we spending it on? And so, Bergeron, let me tell you a couple things. We spent $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes and promotion. Side note, they've been doing pottery for thousands of years. $1.5 million for DEI in Serbia. Why would I care? Okay, $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland. What the hell? $500,000 for efforts to expand atheism in Nepal. Okay, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. Okay, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. Now, I wouldn't spend $1 on this in America, let alone in Peru. This is a great one. We spent $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. Why would I give half a shit about Sesame Street in Iraq? $56 million to boost tourism in Egypt and Tunisia. What do I care? $40 million to boost schools in Jordan. Yet again, don't care. Got 3 more. $11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash. $27 million for reintegration gift bags for deported Central Americans. So now all we're doing, these guys are in there doing their little coding, and they're saying, why did we spend $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia? Now, Bergeron, I know you're not stupid. Can you tell me, Dave Bradley does the crying face, what's happening with this money? Did $47,000 really go for a transgender opera in Colombia? Yes or no?
So let me ask you a question, Rubio, real quick. So if 97% of donors are Democrats, wouldn't they want to know where the money's going?
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand why.
My second question to you is, has anyone seen any of these deliverables, like the transgender opera in Colombia? Can we get a copy of it so we can critique it?
Well, you can watch it I don't want to watch that.
What about the comic book in Peru? This is what I'm talking about. This is wasteful spending that these guys are eliminating, that nobody in their right mind would ever approve. It's a grab bag of money laundering schemes and kickbacks. Listen, they are going to find so much fraud, especially in the USAID, with kickbacks and administrative expenses, things like that, that are enriching the people in and around those programs.
And so let me translate for those that don't know. And Jenna just asked, where did we find all these? You can just go to Doge on X. That's number one. The White House press secretary, we're going to play a video of her pretty soon. They're literally just publicizing them now. They're saying, okay, here they are. They're all coming out, and you can see them all. I mean, we did USAID to Wuhan, China, and we did a bat lab there. Wow, that's weird. I wonder what happened there. Wonder if we had maybe a world pandemic that kind of broke out. So basically, I'm saying I'm paying a Bergeron. Let's say Bergeron is my buddy. And I say, Bergeron, I want you to make a transgender opera for Colombia. And he says, no problem. It's going to cost me $47,000. I say, here's $47,000. Okay. He doesn't have to make it because, like he said, there's no receipts. For all this time, no one said, like, let me see the transgender
where are
opera.
the deliverables? Where are these deliverables at?
Yeah, where's going on? And they're
Let me
talking
see a picture of the gift bag we gave to the migrants that you mentioned there. Where are these are just made up programs to kick money around for the bureaucrats in Washington. USAID was started by Kennedy in the 60s. It was great intentioned, but it grew to a federal bureaucratic division of over 4,500 employees at an average salary of $112,000 apiece with full benefits and pension in the future. This is why Doge is doing what they're doing. They're going in and eliminating the waste. They are looking at the drag that the federal employees, look, the federal employees were really ramped up in 2008. You can really look and go back and look at the jobs and everything after the big crash in 2008. The government added a lot of jobs because not the private sector were adding a lot of things. So we have been really supporting the American public on a lot of these, federal jobs for a very long time, and to no point.
Well, and that's the thing is that I just don't understand where if you're a taxpayer, which say you're watching right now, wouldn't you want to know where your money's going? And you have so many people right now that are on the left that are losing their mind. They're like, why are you doing this? You got to stop this. You got to stop it. I mean, Chuck Schumer just came out with a video tonight where he's losing his mind, and Elizabeth Warren, and they're saying, oh, you're going to kill vaccine companies and doing this and doing that. Like, guys, we just want to know where the money's being spent. And I feel like if you don't want to know, then a third grade level education would say, if you're telling me don't want to know where the money's being spent, then you've got to be dirty. You have to be.
So, I mean, if we're spending this kind of money for aid in foreign countries, why aren't we fixing our American cities? Have you been to, Baltimore or Detroit or San Francisco recently, prior to Trump? It's really bad. Why aren't we helping the American veterans? Why are we giving money away to foreign countries that hate us and not taking care of our precious American veterans? Honestly, they should have the best health care in the entire world, and they don't.
I don't know. So, okay. So I'm rattled by this. Like, I just don't get it. How much deeper do you think this is going to go? And do you think we'll get answers? Like, is anyone going to get fired is what I'm asking.
From which side? What do you mean fired?
Anyone that's been just harboring money, that's been basically robbing the American people.
There are so many of these programs, just like the Consumer Protection Agency that was started in 2008 to help the consumer get back on its feet, grew to a bureaucracy of over 1,600 employees. RIP, they are gone as of this morning. Every one of them are looking for a job. Okay. They did nothing for the American consumer after 2008. It's, again, well-intentioned, but it's another government program that drug on without congressional approval or reapproval, and it just continues to being added to the government. So again, this is a mandate by the American people to reduce the federal government and to especially reduce the deficit. 36 trillion is unimaginable to anyone that is ever alive that has seen this go from basically nothing to 36 trillion over the last 25 years.
And right now, Jenna just said exactly, they should be paying the United States. They need the United States more than the USA needs any other country. I mean, that's not being rude. I mean, that's from a Canadian. They're not allowed to be rude. That's just.
I'll go back on the tariffs real quick for a second, and I'll tell you how this all plays in. So Trump has an idea, like in Ukraine, if we're going to give money away to Ukraine, they are going to give us rights to their minerals, their rare earth minerals, right? So we are not only helping them and helping them rebuild and helping them defend themselves, but the United States actually has something in it, right? And why did Trump do this? He did this the day before China put tariffs on the United States and restricted rare earth minerals to be exported from China. He did it because he knows he's going to quickly have to pivot rare earth materials that we need for computers and cell phones and things like that to another mine, another area. He may even have to open up a rare earth mineral mine here in the United States if this drags on for any period of time with China. So wow. I think, again, he is trying to position or rethink about deals that we've stupidly done in the past and given everything away to where we enrich the United States. Like he started the Sovereign Wealth Fund for the United States to put money together to buy applications like TikTok. So the profits from TikTok would go directly to the American people. I think that's very smart. Why shouldn't we benefit off of things like that directly for the American people? There are enough bridges and roads and cities to be cleaned up, to be helped here in the United States for us to, we have to get back in order again. We're paying so much in debt these days. It's impossible for us to catch up unless something drastic changes. And this is it. This is the drastic. This is our only hope to get back to zero. In the deficit.
Like we've talked about before, it's you and I. We're old. Okay, I feel for your kids and my kids, where it's like, okay, you know you're a teacher and you marry another teacher. You say you're in Los Angeles and you're bringing home $100,000. Wow, $100,000. That's great. I remember my first teaching job. I think I was making $29,000 a year, and it might as well have been $1 million to me. I was like, oh my God, this is the most amount of money I'll ever see in my life. You can't survive on that. Especially in California, like, what are you going to do? So I think, like you said, we're at a crossroads right now, man, where people need to understand we've got to clean it up. If he's going to do it, just let him do it. And people are saying, well, you hope you're happy you voted for this. Yeah, I can't tell you how happy I am. Would I pay extra for an avocado if that's going to happen, which everyone knew it wasn't going to happen? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but look, if Trump is able to readjust our economy from an income tax-based economy to a tariff and consumption use base and eliminate the entire IRS, wouldn't that be something you would go after? So you turn every citizen into a taxpayer on a consumption basis, and then you also get money. Every 25% tariffs on China. This is why Biden didn't. He extended the tariffs on China. Every 25% on China is $1 trillion in revenue for the United States. So it's a big deal. We collect $5 trillion a year. If you did a consumption tax and tariff-based income in the United States, you could completely replace the IRS and the income that it has.
Okay, now I want you to explain it to me like I'm a third grader. So people that are watching right now, because everyone that's watching saying, hey, we pay taxes on our food, we pay taxes on our things we buy, on our income. Okay, I want you to explain it to us how this could work where we don't pay taxes at all. How can that work?
Well, we would pay taxes.
Okay,
for sure.
Just a little.
But when we consume, when we buy goods, when we buy a car, when we buy a product, it's Europe calls it a VAT tax, right? So we would have variable taxes on goods and products throughout the United States on a consumption basis, like we do on gasoline right now, right? Every gallon of gasoline that you pump into your car is taxed by the state, by the feds at certain levels. So it'd be similar to that on every single product throughout the United States, but no one would pay income tax. I mean, the IRS started in 1913. It was previously considered unconstitutional, and it's what started the War of 17. It's what started the United States back in the day. were taxes. Taxes were used as war repayments from the Civil War, from the Revolutionary War, and then they were quickly undone. 1913, we put this together to build up the revenue within the United States to get ready for World War I. And it never went away.
Well, that's standard. Jenna, let's play the video press secretary, and then we'll go to a quick break after I say goodbye to Bergeron. Video press secretary, Jenna.
Live coverage.
Through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
I tell you what, Rubio, if we can see an episode of that Iraqi Sesame Street, we can give it all back to him.
Well, I just don't understand how that's controversial. I love that. Okay. Value added tax, Dave Bradley says 17.5%. I just don't understand how wanting to know where the money's going is controversial at all. Bergeron, thank you so much for coming on and explaining all that. You did outstanding, as I knew you would. Jenna, take me to a commercial, then we'll come back with AC. Thanks again, Bergeron.
Thanks, guys.
I'm out.
You have been watching The Rubio Method.
Let's get going, gang.
Our dedicated staff is ready to work for you. Artbeat specializes in custom apparel. Call us or order online. Free shipping nationwide. Custom printed shirts are our specialty, and we make sure you get exactly what you want. Bring in your own design or let our team create one for you. Promote your business, event, or club with pens, caps, bottles, mugs, and more.
Creating cool since 1985.
Take it away, Rubio.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, Randy and Chevy. The Ride is coming on tonight at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. But before that, you have AC of AC Sports Live coming on at 9 p.m. Oh, there he is right there, 9 p.m. He's wearing like a Harlem Globetrotter jersey or Knicks or something like that? I don't know. Can't be. He's a Lake Show guy. Working hard is not enough. What in the actual hell is happening in the NBA? Jenna, bring on AC. I don't know what's going on. I got to talk to someone about this. AC.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, my man.
Hey, man, what's going on with you, man?
Okay, so let me do old man talk first, because you're a fellow old man of NBA lore. Can the NBA be fixed right now? Because to me, it's unwatchable. And I know they just talked about moving it from 48 minutes to 40 minutes. I don't know what the hell that does. But to me, am I too old? Because I watch like, the 80s Showtime, then the 90s and early 2000s, Shaq and Kobe, RIP. Is it past me? Am I just outdone now?
I think it's over for you, man. If you don't like three-point shooting and you don't like big men shooting threes and not going inside the paint, it is unwatchable. It's just a three-point shooting contest at this point, and it's a popularity contest, pretty much. Who can sell tickets?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't even mind the threes because I've got a beautiful shot. I can make a three-pointer. It's very fluid and smooth. But do they even teach defense? This is my old man yelling at the clouds again.
Well, with this Luka trade, it lets you know that defense is not very important. It's more about who can score the most points. It's not about stopping other teams until the playoffs. So it's just a bad product right now. College basketball is terrible to watch unless you know the kids that are playing who wants to watch that. So at least the NBA has stars that you want to see play. So now you have must-watch TV with the Mavs versus the Lakers in a few weeks, if the guys are healthy. And with the guys sitting out games, you can't even watch your favorite team because you're not sure if your favorite player is going to play. It's just a different day, man.
Okay, so that brings me to the next part is they tried this like mid-season playoff thing where they just started painting the courts different colors. I didn't even understand it. I watch a show all the time, and you've tried to explain it, and I still don't get it. Like there's a mid-season championship, but it's on a different color court. Is that the court color have to do with it, or are they just trying to be flashy?
It's just a a quick indication that this game counts in the play, the end season tournament. It didn't mean anything. It was a take on, I think, Euro soccer and Euro basketball have these mid-season tournaments that make people a little bit more excited because the product is so bad they had to do a gimmick. It's a JV championship. It doesn't mean anything. You don't get any playoff preference. You don't get any seeding preference. It's just a early season tournament to make people watch a little bit more intently.
Okay, I give you a magic wand. Before we get into the trade talk, how do you fix the NBA? How does AC? You're the new commissioner. I give you 1 month to fix it. Go.
You can't do it. There's nothing you can do at this point with max contracts and people jumping ship and telling teams they want to be traded and guys just sitting out practice and missing flights. It's just a bad situation right now across the board. So this is why LeBron's able to stick around so long, because he's still one of the last of the Mohicans when it comes to an OG, work hard, respect the game guy. Like, who's left? A bunch of super fly guys who are paid $500 million just to shoot the three half the season. It's really, really crazy right now. I have no answer on how to fix the NBA right now. A shortened game is not going to fix the NBA right now. It's got to be rivalries. It's got to be a reason why I want to watch OKC play against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, why would I watch these two guys? I mean, I don't know, man. It's just back in the day we had rivalries across all 32 teams, or how many teams are in the NBA. I've stopped watching or counting. It's just not something I want to watch every night. There are too many games, and it's just not. It's just like baseball in some ways, where it's just too many games and a lot of unknown people. I don't even know who the first pick of the draft was. Like, I don't even follow him, but I'll follow Bronny James because his name resonates. Yeah. So it's just tough right now.
Okay, but I think you explained how you would fix it. Okay, so say there's, I don't even know, is there 82 games in an NBA season? That sounds like the right number. So you have to play in 90% of those games, or you get docked half your pay salary.
I don't think the collective bargaining agreement is going to allow that. Yeah, the players' union is not going to allow that. They're going to get their money, but how do you make them play hard? That's the key. The magic key is to make them play hard. The Michael Jordans of the world who played every night to win because they were just petty and vindictive old geezers that I don't want you to win no matter what. I don't care if it's your birthday. We're going to beat you. That's gone. And now these guys are friends. They're kissing each other on the cheek after the game. They go in and hang out and have dinner with each other. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But the competitive nature is not there at the tip-off. They're just buddied up. I need to see some guys go after each other. That's not going to happen because we're all making too much money.
Oh, 100%. Brandon Calkins had a good comment. Only count threes if you're behind. That would be kind of interesting. I kind of like that. And then Dave Bradley.
I mean, you can't do that. You figure guys are looking for records. They're if you're winning and your threes don't count for threes, does that count towards my contract? I have a bonus if I hit a certain number. I mean, it's just too many gimmicks they have to put in for it to be like the Elam scoring for the All-Star game. That was kind of cool, but it's not going to be something they do every night. It's just a matter of competitive nature is gone, man. As soon as KD joined the Golden State Warriors a few years back, it was over. Because now you're joining teams that you lost to. Who does that? Who joined the team that beat you? That's not something we grew up on, man. That's why I'm glad I'm almost a baby boomer Gen X hybrid. Like, I want to beat you, even if we have a team that can't compete. I want to beat you with the team we got. And that's just
and like you said, and Dave Bradley said too, you need rivalries / tribalism, where you and I both grew up in LA, where the Lakers were it, and then you had the Celtics, who were not only just the most hated team, they were pound for pound. AC, you have to agree with me, and this is gonna be a little rude for you, but not for me. Probably one of the ugliest teams you've ever seen as well.
Yeah, they weren't very good looking, and the DNA pool, it skipped them as far as handsome and just chiseled faces and all that stuff. You figure you had the Lakers, you had some good looking guys with good smiles. They had good dentists and things like that in LA. But it was racial too. But you figure the Boston Celtics, even though they had a share of African American players and Bill Russell, the historic thing there. Happy Black History Month, by the way. I know your audience might not be vibing with that, but I'm gonna keep rocking with it because I think it's important. But the Celtics Lakers was brothers versus white guys, even though it was mixed. We had brothers and white guys on both teams, but it was still Boston versus LA. It's racism right there, man.
But you had Robert Parrish. Wasn't his nickname literally the Caveman, or did I make that up?
I think you made it up.
He looks like a caveman though.
He was hard to look at, man. He wasn't very good looking.
Jenna, can you look up nickname for Robert Parrish, Boston Celtics? I'm pretty sure it was Caveman or something like that. And then you had Dennis Johnson, who wasn't he a redheaded black guy with freckles?
He's my godfather.
No, he's not.
Honestly, he was my dad's roommate in JUCO at Harbor College.
Yeah.
Dennis Johnson's my godfather. Red freckles, everything. No, he passed away. So before he got in the Hall of Fame. So yeah, DJ and my dad were thick as thieves. My dad blew his knee out. No NBA for him. Dennis Johnson, solid point guard, got a scholarship out of Harbor College to Pepperdine, and the rest is history.
Pepperdine, great school. And then you had Larry Bird, who looks like everyone's aunt, but one of the best baseball players or basketball players of all time. Yeah. Just zero athletic ability, but he knew where to go.
So that's why they say, Bird and Magic saved the NBA. We need that again. You need two guys that you can pit against each other to make that the pinnacle of rivalry. So right now you have Jason Tatum in Boston. He's so quiet and likable. So what? I need a villain. You need villains. That's why Draymond Green's still relevant. He's a villain.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. His nickname was the Chief.
The Chief. Yeah.
That's it. Caveman Chief. They both started with a C. All right, AC. What the hell are the Lakers and Dallas Mavericks doing with Anthony Davis, who's 31 years old? He plays a fifth of the season, maybe. He's a China doll. I think you've had him on your tender love. He's basically a permanent structure. Yeah. And then for Luka, who, don't get me wrong, he's not the healthiest of human beings. He's probably got, 30% body fat, and he hasn't guarded anyone since Stevie Wonder saw something. But they did basically a flat-out swap. And the controversy goes because the new owners of Dallas, supposedly they're trying to get gambling rights into Dallas. And the only way they're going to do that is if they happen to lose the Mavericks, which this is just not a good trade, right?
It's an interesting trade. Nothing about it makes any sense, but I think the Mavericks know something that we don't know. I think Luka might have more issues than are on the surface. This reminds me of Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh. Something else is happening behind the scenes. I'm hearing alcohol. I'm hearing diva. I'm hearing raging alcohol at the age of 25. It's not going to get any better. Let's see what we can do at this point, because we're not going to win the championship if our leader is somebody that comes to practice drunk and we have to wait till he kind of gets sobered up to get going. And he's still a bucket. I mean, he's going to give you 35, 12 and 10 because he can play ball. He's been playing since he was a kid. That's not the problem. It's leadership. And it's leadership and defense. And can you build a championship team around him? He's not Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki was a solid pro. He's old school, like you were talking about earlier. You can count on Dirk Nowitzki. But you can't count on Luka, because Luka will talk to the referees the entire defensive set. While you are down there playing defense, he's still crying at the refs. And and they have to take a beer out of his hand when he knows the camera is on him. So I think that they just got rid of the alcoholic pretty much, I think.
Okay, but then the Lakers got rid of a China doll.
Well, he's an angry China doll now, so I call him Tender Love Davis. Tender Love is now in Dallas, and he's upset about it. And on my show tonight, you'll see I got LeBron James on my Tender Love report. My wife's going to kill me. But I think LeBron James knew about this. And I think it's because LeBron James knows that I'm retiring soon. So, Rob, if you got to do something at this point. I'm out of here. And I think this is the insurance policy for when LeBron leaves. Instead of when Kobe passed away, there was nothing for 2 or 3 years. There was nothing left after Kobe left, figuratively and really what's going to happen when it is. This was happened, man. When Kobe retired, they put all their eggs in the basket, paid Kobe the money they owed him, and then we had to find a new superstar. They just found a superstar to replace LeBron, and that's what that is for the future.
Yeah. All right, so let's end on a more happy note, because I still don't understand that trade. Confidence is the key. AC, I've been watching a lot of Little House on the Prairie. I don't know if you ever watched that show. Fantastic. Just good Americana. So good. Michael Landon, last episode, was playing the fiddle like it was going out of style. I talked to you a little bit about some shows that you watched, and ironically, there were 99.9% the ones that I watched. Popeye, what the hell is Popeye? I didn't watch that. I skipped right over it. My question is, why are TV shows nowadays not as good? And I have some theories on it. I think, number one, they're not willing to be edgy enough. All right. So I'm going to play you a couple clips. And the first one is going to just drop everyone's mind. Okay. This was on national TV. Let's play clip number 1 from Sanford and Son, Jenna.
Here you are, gentlemen. A nice cold pitcher of sangria.
Ah, gracias, negro.
What'd you call him?
It's a very common thing. I call him negro. It's a very common thing. It's a friendly way of talking to each other in Spanish. What do we call ourselves?
You look like no negro to me.
Okay, so they wouldn't touch that show with a 10-foot pole right now. That's number 1. And now just watch how just this second clip, how fantastic just Fred Sanford is. Go ahead, Jenna, was clip number 2.
Hold on, Fred Sanford. What is this? Excuse me, honey. This is my son, Lamont, and this is our plumber. Yeah, you can see all the pipes backed up into her face.
Okay, so AC, where are those shows now?
I mean, you have such a delicate and fragile society we live in. You can't even, crack on your best friend without someone saying you shouldn't say that, and then now you have the cancel culture. You can't offend anybody. But I think that was the brilliance of like Norman Lear and all his programs back in those days, where he would push the envelope. I mean, he would push the envelope with the N-word on those shows. And All in the Family is one of my shows too.
I was just gonna say All in the Family.
The Jeffersons, like All in the Family, I think was way before its time. And if you just watch that and the honesty of Archie Bunker, it was just kind of like it spoke to what we need to change. In order for us to have an equal land, we have to stop thinking like that, even though it's hilarious because he did not know he was, I guess, being seen in a negative light. He's just like, calling his Pollock son-in-law, all kinds of names. He calls his black neighbor all kinds of names, but he's better than the most of you. You're a credit to your race, and all those types of things you would just hear. And the Jeffersons, they would go back and forth, and his neighbor's a white guy. He's just his friend, but he calls him honky, and then he says, "Well, George, if I said the N-word, then say it. And it was just something that you had to experience and know that this is what's on the tip of your tongue, and you can't say it. But in the 70s and 80s, you could still say them. And you found out where you stood with people. And they had, very hard episodes where you had like one episode of the Jeffersons where there was an actual Klansman in the building. Mm-hmm. And George saved the Klansman's life. And he said, you should have just let me die. I'd rather die than have that N-word's blood in my system or whatever it was. It was like, wow, the racism is so deep, but it's something you need to talk about because it breaks down the walls. It breaks down the stereotypes. It breaks down the racism when you talk about things and you hear them and it's shocking. And you say, okay, if that's how it is, we probably need to change. But now we keep it all inside.
Yeah, and you keep it all inside. And like you said, how they had on the Jeffersons, they had like that one big episode where you're like, holy hell, and you still remember it. And that's the same way the next show I want to talk about is Different Strokes. I remember they had one episode on there, and it was where they almost got kidnapped by like some dude in the back of a bike shop. And I remember that scared the living hell out of me because it was like stranger danger, don't go, now kids go into it. But I remember that episode and I was like, Jesus. But, one of those things with those shows did so well, and I think the last show to do it really, really well was the Cosby Show that went to a different world, is that they branched into other shows. And this is a great clip from Different Strokes. Jenna, go ahead and play this Different Strokes and you can see how it branches.
Mama, let me tell you something. We're going to sell this thing right here and now.
Lord, is Gary?
Hello, totem pole.
I'd like you to meet Miss Florida Evans.
Hey, Flo. Pleased to meet you.
That's Mrs. Evans to you, young man.
Mrs. Evans? Oh, come on, lady. Where are we, at a Tupperware party? believe in all that Mr. and Mrs. jive.
Gary, look at these hands.
Hey, Mama, if you want a palm reader, you got the wrong dude.
Either I go upside your head with these 2 palms, or I cut you a nice piece of sweet potato pie.
I ain't no dummy. I'll set up for the pie flow. Mrs. Evans.
Well, first of all, you're not going to get a cuter kid than Gary Coleman, who was probably 47 years old right there. But, I mean, that's obviously Different Strokes leaning right. That was Good Times, right?
Yes, Good Times to Leave Different Strokes spinoff.
So fantastic. And you even got to see Janet Jackson, Miss Nasty, okay, which was absolutely fantastic. All right. Then the next part, another show that you and I watched was more sexual. And it was very like tongue-in-cheek, dirty. Jenna, play the first clip of the next show.
What's the matter? How would you like it if some young man tried to seduce you?
Someone trying to seduce you?
Hope you got his name and number.
Okay, so they always had in Three's Company the underlying sexual tone, and then they had it was always like just, you know, moving the cups around, where there was always this mystery, like, oh, you know, I can't remember the term in theater where we're mismatched, where you hear one thing and then there's another.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that was the whole formula of sitcoms, was the misunderstanding.
The misunderstanding, that's the term I'm looking for.
There's always going to be that, and you have a guy living with 2 young women, and you're like, well, how does that happen when there's no? And then there was when they introduced the homosexual thing, and you had to play that off. And Mr. Roper bought it, Mr. Furley bought it, and then nobody ever, you know, bought it. So it was just funny, but they never brought that part up.
No, never.
Just assumed.
Okay, so now speaking of Mr. Furley, I think he was the first landlord, and then he kind of left, and then they brought in.
It was the other way around. The Ropers were first, and then the Ropers were a spinoff, and then they brought in Mr. Furley. Yeah.
So Mr. Furley, he had the greatest facial expressions, Don Knotts. Now I want you to listen to the mess up here, because this one's really good sexually. Go ahead, Jenna.
Tell you what to do.
Hey, Chrissy, I'll get in the tub with you, then we can get it on.
I'll show you what to do.
This isn't exactly the first time I've ever done this.
Maybe so, but girls are better at this than boys.
Come on, Chrissy, a little less talk and a little more action, okay?
Okay, you do your part, I'll do mine. I don't think it'll reach.
Of course not. You've got to unfold it first.
You see, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but my mom would turn the channel.
You wouldn't. Yeah, I think my mom actually said Three's Company's too trashy. You can't watch that.
Yeah, it was the era of the boob tube, because you got those little innuendos and those misunderstandings, and you were able to let your imagination run. That's just good writing, man. I mean,
100%.
It was never blatant. It was always subtle, and if you didn't get it, you missed it. So if you were a young innocent child, you didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But the adults did. So it was this good writing, and it was intent. It was intentional. It was meant for those people to get it. And I think those who were, again, the writers of those times actually thought about the audience when they wrote those scripts and those scenarios. Like, this is going to be funny to a certain group. Some may not get it, but some will get it. And those who get it will be our fans.
Okay, so now, last thing, I have to know, in your professional opinion, how did this sort of dancing not take off? Jenna, play the last clip. number one, how flexible is Rerun for being a fat kid?
You had to be an athlete, man. That dancing is not easy. It just looks easy because he's good at it.
Yeah,
I couldn't pop like that.
I mean, that was my next question. Was that the start? Did he like start popping and locking and breakdancing?
No, man, you got to do some history. That stuff goes way back. I mean, in the 20s, people were pop locking and scatting and all that stuff. So it was just upbeat and tempo to a different type of music. When disco music came out, and then you had that go-go type of sound, and then you had the beat that got a little bit faster, and then it changed the whole rhythm of dance. And then it was just every decade it's changed and got a little bit more progressive, a little bit more fun, a little bit more athletic. And then you just kept the rhythm with it, and it didn't pick up because it's not easy for everybody to do.
No.
Like, you have some basic moves, but some of the things that he was, I mean, I'm not jumping in the air and laying on my knee like that.
No.
I mean, that guy was pretty good at it. So he was a world-renowned pop locker, but he was not the first or the last.
So, AC, I want to thank you for talking NBA and trade talk and going down memory lane with me with some great TV shows. Where tonight at 9 p.m., what's the audience going to get on the AC Sports Live?
Well, I'm going to be eagled out tonight. It is Super Bowl Sunday this Sunday, and I'm going to talk about the keys to victory tonight and what we need to avoid with these Kansas City Cheetahs and these referees. Talk a little bit about the Luka AD trade, not more than I really talked about here. It's just a future move and whatever it might be. A couple of tender love topics and some uncle season, funny videos, but pretty much going to be Super Bowl focused. It's the big week. I have my $2 bets on my wall. I got $2 here. I got $2. Everybody at first beginning of the season, I put $2 on the Eagles to win the whole thing. Didn't think we'd get this far, but we're here.
But I wish you the best of luck. Everyone, make sure you watch AC Sports Live tonight at 9 o'clock on YouTube. That's 9 p.m. Pacific time. YouTube, LinkedIn, X, all that good stuff. On Facebook, AC of AC Sports Live. Thank you, my man. All right, the bottom line for all you listeners and watchers that have not been with us before, the bottom line is all stuff that you should have learned without even realizing you learned it. Number one, yes, that is what they voted for, and they want more of it. Yes, that is what they voted for, and they want more of it. So everyone's talking about tariffs and all this stuff, and you're removing all this. Yeah, that they want that. Okay. Number two, if it is broke, why not fix it? This goes back to the excess fat that we talked about with Bergeron. If we're spending money and you don't know where it is and it's a ridiculous amount of money, fix it. It's okay. And number three, sometimes you just need to look back for a big smile. That's what AC and I did with I guess you'd say those are 70s and 80s shows. Those were fantastic. I want to thank both Bergeron and AC of AC Sports Live for coming on. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, and all the people that commented out there today. This was episode 91 of the Rubio Method. Jenna, I'm out.
Thanks for watching the Rubio Method. Be sure to spread the word, and don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook.